To step into the mind of a jealous person is to step into a world that is perpetually on fire, a landscape where the ground is always shifting and the sky is always threatening to fall. It is a state of existence defined by a relentless, exhausting vigilance, a constant scanning of the horizon for the catastrophe that feels inevitable. While the poets and the songwriters might tell us that jealousy is a symptom of love, a sign that the fire of passion is burning bright, psychology reveals a much starker, sadder truth. Jealousy is not a measure of how much you love someone else. It is a measure of how little you love yourself. It is a metric of your internal fragility. It is the agonizing sensation of being hollow, of being a vessel that cannot hold water, desperately trying to plug the leaks with the reassurance and attention of another human being. To understand this, we have to peel back the layers of anger and accusation that usually coat the jealous behavior and look at the trembling, terrified core that lies beneath. The jealous person is not a villain in their own story. They are a victim of a narrative they have written for themselves, a narrative that says they are fundamentally unlovable, easily replaceable, and destined to be left behind. Imagine for a moment that your sense of self-worth is a balloon. For a healthy, secure person, that balloon is filled from the inside. It is filled with their own accomplishments, their own values, their own self-respect, and their own connection to a deeper sense of self. If someone walks away from them, the balloon stays inflated because the air is coming from within. But for the jealous person, the balloon has a hole in it. They cannot fill it themselves. They rely on an external source, their partner, to constantly blow air into the balloon. Tell me I'm beautiful. Tell me you love me. Promise me you'll never leave. As long as the partner is blowing air, the jealous person feels full. They feel seen. They feel alive. But the moment the partner stops, the moment the partner looks away, talks to someone else, or simply pursues their own interests, the air starts to leak out. The balloon starts to shrivel. And the jealous person feels a primal panic. They are shrinking. They are disappearing. This is why the reaction is so violent. They are not just fighting for a relationship, they are fighting for their existence. They believe that if they lose this connection, they lose themselves. This dependency creates a distortion in reality. The jealous mind does not see the world as it is. It sees the world through the lens of threat. This is what psychologists call confirmation bias on overdrive. If you believe that you are going to be betrayed, your brain will tirelessly search for evidence to prove you right. It will ignore the 1,000 times your partner was loyal and focus with laser intensity on the one time they smiled at a waiter or the one time they took an hour to text back. Innocuous events are twisted into indictments. A wrong number becomes a secret lover. A late meeting becomes a tryst. The jealous mind is a prosecutor in a court where the verdict has already been decided, and the trial is just a formality to prove the guilt. This is exhausting for the jealous person, who is living in a constant state of adrenaline and cortisol, their body ravaged by the stress of an imaginary war. But it is even more exhausting for the partner, who finds themselves constantly on the witness stand, defending their innocence against crimes they never committed. We must look at the concept of possession. Jealousy is rooted in the idea that we can own another human being. We say, my husband, my wife, my girlfriend, and the language tricks us into thinking this is a property right, like my car or my house. But people cannot be owned. Love is a fluid, dynamic energy that is given freely. The moment you try to lock it down, it dies. The jealous person does not understand this. They believe that love is a finite resource, a pie where if someone else gets a slice, there is less for them. They view the partner's attention as a zero-sum game. If the partner spends energy on a hobby, that is energy stolen from the relationship. If the partner laughs at a friend's joke, that is laughter that should have belonged to them. This scarcity mindset turns the relationship into a cage. The jealous person stands at the door of the cage, checking the locks, terrified that the bird will fly away, never realizing that it is the cage itself that makes the bird want to leave. This need for control is a direct response to the feeling of helplessness, because the jealous person feels they cannot control their own emotions or their own self-worth. They try to control the external environment. They try to curate the partner's reality so that no threats can enter. Don't wear that dress. Don't go to that bar. Delete that person from social media. They think that if they can just remove all the triggers, they will feel safe. But this is a fallacy. The trigger is not out there. The trigger is in here. You can remove every attractive person from the planet. You can lock your partner in a tower, and the jealous person will still find something to fear, because the fear is generated by their own shadow, not by the world. This control often masquerades as care. I just worry about you, or I just want us to be close. But true care supports the expansion of the other person. Control demands their contraction. True love says, I want you to fly. Jealousy says, I will clip your wings so you can never leave me. Deep down, the jealous person is often projecting their own shadow. Carl Jung taught us that we project the parts of ourselves we do not want to see onto others. Often, the person who is most terrified of being cheated on is the person who is struggling with their own fidelity or their own lack of integrity. It might not be that they want to have sex with someone else, but perhaps they are cheating in other ways, lying to themselves, being inauthentic, hiding their true feelings. Because they know they are capable of deception, they assume everyone else is too. They project their own capacity for betrayal onto their partner. I know how people are. They say, which really means, I know how I am, or they project their own desire for freedom. The jealous person often feels trapped by their own dependency. A part of them, the wild, unlived part of their soul, desperately wants to break free. But they repress this desire because it terrifies them. So, when they see their partner acting freely, acting independently, they attack it. They are attacking the very thing they secretly long for. They are jealous of the partner's autonomy because they have sacrificed their own. This brings us to the mechanism of comparison. We live in a culture that feeds jealousy. We are constantly presented with images of perfection, of relationships that look flawless, of people who seem to have it all. The jealous person consumes this imagery and uses it to beat themselves up. They are constantly measuring themselves against an invisible, impossible standard and finding themselves wanting. This is the not enough wound. I am not pretty enough, rich enough, smart enough, funny enough, because they believe they are less than. They assume that their partner will eventually upgrade. It makes logical sense to them. If I am a Ford and there is a Ferrari standing there, of course, he will choose the Ferrari. They cannot conceive that they are loved for who they are, for their unique essence, because they do not value that essence themselves. They view themselves as a commodity with a market value, and they are terrified that their market value is dropping. This turns the relationship into a transaction, a constant auditing of accounts to ensure they are not being cheated. The tragedy of jealousy is that it destroys the intimacy it seeks to protect. Intimacy requires vulnerability. It requires dropping the shield and saying, here I am, imperfect and open. But jealousy is a shield. It is a suit of armor. You cannot hug someone who is wearing a suit of armor. You just bang against the metal. The jealous person is so busy defending the fortress that they never let anyone inside the keep. They push their partner away with their accusations and their suspicions. They create a self-fulfilling prophecy. The partner, initially loving and patient, eventually becomes exhausted. They feel suffocated. They feel unseen. They feel that no matter what they do, it is never enough to prove their loyalty. So, eventually, they withdraw emotionally or they leave physically. And the jealous person, standing in the ruins of the relationship, says, see, I knew it. I knew they would leave. They claim victory in their prediction, but it is a Pyrrhic victory. They were right, but they were the ones who caused the outcome they feared. They wrote the script, handed it to their partner, forced them to read the lines, and then cried when the play ended in tragedy. We must also understand the role of childhood trauma in this dynamic. This is often where the script was written. If a child had a parent who was inconsistent, sometimes loving, sometimes cold, sometimes present, sometimes abandoning that child develops an anxious attachment style. They learn that love is something you have to fight for, something you have to monitor constantly. They learn that if you take your eyes off the prize, it disappears. This child grows up into an adult who views relationships as a source of anxiety, not comfort. They are waiting for the abandonment because abandonment is what feels familiar. It feels like home, when things are calm, When the partner is loyal and steady, the anxious person often feels bored or uneasy. They are waiting for the other shoe to drop. They might even unconsciously provoke a fight or create drama just to get a reaction, because a negative reaction is better than no reaction. At least if we are fighting, you are looking at me. At least if we are screaming, I know you are still here. Silence is the enemy. Autonomy is the enemy. Healing from jealousy requires a massive internal renovation. It is not about fixing the partner, it is about fixing the self. It starts with the admission that the jealousy is a problem of the self, not a problem of the relationship. This takes immense courage because it means taking back the projection. It means saying, my partner is not making me jealous. I am creating jealousy in response to my partner. It requires sitting with the terrible, burning sensation of insecurity and not acting on it. It involves the practice of the pause. When the jealousy flares up, when the urge to check the phone or make the snide comment arises, the healing person stops. They feel the fire in their belly. They recognize it as fear. They recognize it as the wounded child screaming. And instead of lashing out at the partner, they turn inward and comfort the child. They say to themselves, I am scared right now. I am feeling unworthy. But that is a feeling, not a fact. I am safe. I am enough. This process involves building a separate identity. The jealous person is often enmeshed. They have no life outside of the relationship. Their hobbies, their friends, their interests have all been sacrificed on the altar of the couple. To heal, they must reclaim their own life. They must build a world that they love, a world that stands on its own 2 feet. When you have your own passions, your own purpose, your own circle of support, the relationship becomes a beautiful addition to your life, not the structural foundation of it. If the relationship ends, your house will still stand because you built the pillars yourself. This independence is paradoxically what makes intimacy possible. 2 whole people can come together and share. 2 half people just cling to each other for survival. We must also talk about trust. Trust is not the belief that your partner will never hurt you. That is a childish fantasy. People are human. They make mistakes. They change. They fall out of love. Trust is the belief that you will be okay no matter what your partner does. It is self-trust. It is knowing that you are resilient enough to survive a betrayal, strong enough to walk away if your boundaries are crossed, and whole enough to heal if your heart is broken. When you trust yourself, you don't need to control your partner. You can give them the freedom to be themselves, knowing that if they choose to leave, it is their loss, not your destruction. This shift from trusting them to trusting yourself is the game changer. It takes the power out of their hands and puts it back in yours. There is a spiritual component to this as well. Jealousy is a refusal to accept the impermanence of life. We want to freeze time. We want to lock the door and keep everything exactly as it is in the moment of peak romance. But life is a river, not a pond. It moves, people grow, relationships evolve. Trying to stop this flow is what causes suffering. Learning to love with an open hand is the ultimate spiritual discipline. It is the understanding that we do not own anyone. We are just traveling companions for a while. We enjoy the person while they are with us. We love them fully, but we do not clutch. We appreciate the sunset, but we do not try to stuff it in a box to keep it. We let the sun go down, trusting that it will rise again, or that the stars will come out. This non-attachment is not indifference. It is the highest form of love. It respects the sovereignty of the other soul. Overcoming jealousy also means rewriting the narrative of the past. It means looking at the evidence you have collected against yourself, the failed relationships, the rejections, the childhood wounds, and interpreting them differently. Instead of seeing them as proof that you are unlovable, you see them as lessons. You see them as the fire that forged you. You forgive the people who hurt you, not for them, but to free yourself from the ghost of their judgment. You forgive yourself for not knowing better. You realize that you are not the sum of your rejections. You are the sum of your resilience. You are the one who survived. You are the one who is still here, still trying to love, still trying to grow. That is something to be proud of, not ashamed of. If you are with a jealous person, understanding this psychology is crucial. It helps you not to take their attacks personally. You realize that when they are accusing you, they are really confessing their own pain. This does not mean you should tolerate abuse or control. Boundaries are essential, but it allows you to set those boundaries with compassion rather than anger. You can say, "I love you, but I will not show you my phone." Trust is a choice, and I need you to choose it. You can refuse to participate in their drama. You can refuse to walk on eggshells. By standing firm in your own reality, you offer them a lifeline. You show them what a secure, autonomous person looks like. You become a secure base for them, not by enabling their neurosis, but by modeling health. However, you cannot fix them. They must do the work. You can only love them and invite them to rise to your level. For the jealous person, the road to recovery is long, but it is possible. It begins with a single moment of awareness. The moment you catch yourself in the spiral. The moment you feel the heat rising and you say, "Wait, this is not about them, this is about me." In that pause, in that tiny gap between the trigger and the reaction, lies your freedom. You can choose a different path. You can choose to breathe. You can choose to speak your truth. "I am feeling insecure." Rather than acting out your pain, you are a cheater. You can choose to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is the antidote to jealousy. Jealousy is hard. Vulnerability is soft. Jealousy pushes away. Vulnerability draws in. When you say, "I am terrified of losing you because you matter so much to me," you invite your partner to comfort you. When you say, "Where were you?" you invite your partner to defend themselves. The outcome is entirely different. Ultimately, the death of jealousy is the birth of the true self. It is the realization that you are already whole. You do not need another person to complete you. You are not a puzzle with a missing piece. You are a universe unto yourself. When you truly know this, when you feel it in your bones, the desperate need to clutch and grab and control fades away. You can stand in the center of your own life, grounded and calm, and let others come and go as they please. Those who stay, stay because they want to, not because they are forced to. And that voluntary presence, that free-willed love, is the only thing that can ever truly satisfy the hunger of the human heart. The journey out of jealousy is the journey into worthiness. It is the journey home to the self you abandoned long ago, the self that was always enough, the self that was always worthy of love, simply because it exists.